Order in the room. Order, order, order. Distinguished members of the Uganda Law Society and your visitors, humble request, let's be upstanding for the anthems.
Mungu twaomba uilinde Jumuiya Afrika Mashariki, tuwezeshe kuishi kwa amani, tutimize na malengo yetu. Jumuiya yetu sote tuilinde, tuajibike, tuimarike. Umoja wetu ni nguzo yetu, idumu jumuiya yetu.
Let's take our seats. Chairperson of the Electoral Committee of the Uganda Law Society, Mr. Moses Mwase.
Thank you, Mr. Kasiate. We will not spend a lot of your time. Permit me to invite Mr. Arthur. It's okay to make some quick remarks before I can make one or two announcements, and then we will hand over to Mr. Kasiate. Arthur, over to you, sir.
Yes, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for sparing time to attend one of the kind, the second debate for the Judicial Service Commission nominees. As Radical Niba, I would wish to appreciate each and everyone for being part of this historical moment, and we don't take it lightly. On behalf of the Radical Niba, I would wish to welcome each and everyone. I have a statement that I'll read. The statement comes from the President of Uganda Law Society, and I would want to read it the way it is. And it says, distinguished members of Uganda Law Society, nominees to the Judicial Service Commission, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. On behalf of the Governing Council, I'm delighted to welcome you all to the second debate for our nominees to the Judicial Service Commission. The election of the Judicial Service representatives is a significant milestone under the Radical Niba Council. We recognize the urgent need to democratize the process of selecting our representatives to the JSC by ensuring that there's transparency, inclusivity, and member participation. In a special way, I thank all the nominees for their patience and commitment throughout this long and challenging process. As many of you know, this exercise has faced several delays since December last year. The nominees present today have shown great perseverance and professionalism throughout it all. This reflects their resilience and commitment to service. To all our nominees, this is your platform. This is the opportunity to speak directly to the membership, to share your vision and convince your colleagues why you are the best suited candidate to serve them to the Judicial Service Commission. To our members, the power lies in your hands. Listen carefully, critically, and choose your representatives wisely. The decision you make today definitely will shape how efficiently your voice is represented within the Judicial Service Commission, and ultimately how justice will be administered in this country. I also take this opportunity to remind and encourage all the members to attend the annual general meeting scheduled to commence on the 18th of October. Of course, not forgetting the pre-AGM that will take place on the 17th of October, Friday, at Imperial Resort Beach, Entebbe. The voting and the procedures will be communicated by the Electoral Commission. So let's stand up in large numbers and exercise our right to vote. Once again, I thank you all for being part of this important democratic exercise. Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you, Mr. Treasurer, for those remarks delivered on behalf of the President. Before we hand over to Mr. Simon Kasiate, a few quick announcements. First of all, we would like to recognize members of the Electoral Committee, the ULS Elections Committee that are here. I see Madame Chigundu, Josephine. If you can quickly stand up, colleagues. Sam, Collins, Brownie, Josephine. These are the counterparts that are supporting the holding of this activity. Please give them a round of applause. Thank you, folks. We also wish to thank the Council, Secretariat, for giving us this venue, your home. One or two announcements. Please be reminded that we will require all candidates to submit a list of your agents. We would like this list to be submitted not later than Wednesday this week. Submit it by email. I think we've had this conversation. We've agreed you can submit up to 10 names or even more. On D-Day, you can, sift out the ones that you feel you might need to sift out. Number two, for all members of the Uganda Law Society, the deadline for payment of subscription fees is today. We indicated this in the notice, and as you're aware, for you to be eligible to appear on the electoral roll, you need to be fully paid up. So for us to be able to prepare the roll, we need some turnaround time, and we indicated today, the 13th of October, as the deadline. You still have up to midnight. I'm sure all of you have online banking. The other campaign is just to remind our candidates that these campaigns will be continuing until Friday, the 17th of October, 2025, midnight. That also means that we should be very careful on Saturday to ensure that campaigning is not happening on site, especially also coming with campaign materials, apparel in the voting area. We would like that area to be free of campaign materials or any campaigning. So campaigning should go on until Friday, the 17th of October, midnight. We would like to invite Mr. Simon Kasiate to take leave, but we might never have an opportunity to appreciate him. We also would like our online audience and the ones here to send us your feedback, how the debates have been organized, assessing us on just about everything. So please feel free to share with us your feedback so we can keep improving even the next debates that we'll do. But Simon, Mr. Kasiate, the floor is yours. We'd like to thank you for handling the first debate, and we would like to thank you in advance for handling this one as well, because you are the one who will have the microphone. Let's put our hands together and welcome Mr. Kasiate. Thank you, and we will now take leave.
Can we have order in the room? Order in the room. From wherever it is that you're catching this live debate for the nominees to the Uganda Judicial Service Commission, welcome and thank you for joining us for yet the second part of this debate between the candidates. My name is Simon Kasiate, and happy to take you through this session once again. In a special way, I would love to welcome the candidates that have made it to the room. There are 11 candidates in total. But present before me, if my mathematics is anything to go by, I see 9. We'll be expecting the others to join us, and if not, we'll proceed with the 9. Ladies and gentlemen in the room, I also want to thank you for your presence. And just like has been said, the success of this debate and how well it's been held will depend largely on the conduct with which we will carry ourselves through this deliberation. I therefore will request that we conduct ourselves with utmost decency and the most basic of decorum that is expected of folks that would want to refer to themselves as land friends. This is a conversation between land friends aspiring for a good and top office, not anything close to other contestations by folks that fall beneath your level of decorum. And therefore we expect that you will look, sound, and feel the part. That said, for context to those who are joining this debate for the first time and possibly are also not land friends but are keen on following the developments here, there will be an election this Saturday, the 18th of October, 2025. The election is among 11 candidates, members of the Uganda Law Society, who will form the 2 nominees according to law as established, to be presented to the appointing authority for assent to the Judicial Service Commission. It is expected that the flow of events will be after the election, the top 2 candidates from these 11 before us will be sent to His Excellency the President, who will in turn send the 2 names, if he pleases, to the National Assembly for approval or otherwise. And thereafter, we return to normal programming. That said and the context set, last week when we had the similar debate, the first of its kind, the candidates labored laboriously to share with us their vision with regard to what they think continues to bedevil the Judicial Service Commission and what they in their individual capacity will do to ameliorate what they consider to be a challenge. It is, from my observation, easy to identify flaws in a system and offer solutions to those flaws. That's the easier part. Today, we are taking it a notch higher. We are looking at what they always say, that the devil is in the details. If you are able to identify and diagnose and able to give a prescription, tonight we'll want to put you to the test as to the extent to which we can say you are the best person to offer that solution. And therefore, we'll be looking down into 1, in no particular order of importance, but your moral turpitude is on the stands. Your proficiency in what you have done or attempted to do or failed to do is also on the stands. We will also restrict our presentations to how you as a particular candidate stands out and not how another candidate sits down or doesn't qualify. So we expect that you campaign for yourself and or another candidate, but do not decampaign another candidate. Their presentation or the absence of which will be enough decampaigning material before your voters. That said, we'll use the same order as we did last time. In the absence of any other demographic, we'll follow alphabetical order of first name. And from the 9 candidates before me, I will start as follows. But before I call out the name, in lieu of following through feedback from those that have watched this debate, we decided that today, and randomly, we picked one particular concern raised online as a question that in fact was put to you at the last debate, that for one reason or other, and I suspect it was time and not of your making, we did not tackle it. And so this was brought forward to us, and we chose that it will be your first question. The rules still stand with regard to time. You have 5 minutes, but not to answer one particular question. It is to answer that question and tell us the devil in the details of how you will be able to do what you say you are doing. And here goes the question for all of us before I invite the first candidate. And this was brought to our attention on Twitter, or call it X as it is known now. Listen carefully. As we consider the future of our judiciary, we need the Judicial Service Commission representatives who prioritize accountability and transparency. That's a statement of fact. Holding judicial officers accountable should never be a punishable act. Yet, the Uganda Law Society president, elected by the very members whose votes the Judicial Service Commission candidates now seek, lives in exile for, among other reasons, demanding accountability from the judiciary. An appeal and a stay of execution case concerning his personal liberty have not yet been heard and determined since they were filed in February 2025, a delay of 8 months and counting. This sets a troubling precedent that speaks truth to power comes at a personal cost. Where do you, the Judicial Service Commission candidates aspiring for the office of Judiciary Ombudsman, stand on this critical issue? That is the question. Going by the order as announced, I will start with the candidate, Alex Resida. That took 30 seconds of your precious 5 minutes.
Thank you very much. It's a critical question. I'll go straight to the question. Just to give you a perspective of this person who will tackle that question, the purview I have of the critical issues concerning our administration of justice. I served on a district service commission for Kisoro district for 8 years, and that gave me a clear view at the local government level of the challenges in society on corruption, administration of justice. I have served on the government's central government audit committees appointed under the Public Finance and Management Act for 8 years, giving me a clear purview of government functions at central government level. When it comes to the courts, beyond being a litigator and counsel and so on, I served as a chair of the Commercial Court Bar Bench Committee for 4 years. And it was the first one the others picked from us to establish them. Critical to speaking about truth and so on, our law firm, since our independence as Uganda, there is no law firm that has defended freedom of speech like we have done. None. Freedom of speech is so important in the fight against corruption, backlog, a case like the one we are talking about of our president, and so on. Without freedom of speech, you are crippled. We have those credentials, I have those credentials, and I bring that value. Now, specific to what we would do about this pending matter. It's a judicial process, it's in the Court of Appeal. The push for it to be disposed of is a concerted effort, and that will continue. On the question that we didn't quite answer regarding our systems and so on, we have to remember that the systems that affect us require a combination of efforts. You need a mix of institutional, legal, technological, and cultural tools to have impact. And in these, there are key points we look at. We've talked about a number of these before. I just run through them point by point. One is at institutional levels. We've talked about accountability and integrity. These are very, very fundamental tools to enhance. These have to be enhanced within Judicial Service Commission itself, within ourselves, even as Uganda Law Society, as members of Uganda Law Society. We have transparent and competitive appointments to look at because the quality of the judicial officers talks to the quality of the justice that they administer. We look at the disciplinary and complaints mechanisms. How are they enhanced? Streamlining them, ensuring that they make it easy, ensuring that the investigative arms of government are tapped into calls for collaboration. Collaboration between Judicial Service Commission and the other jail sector players. These include those that have capacities that Judicial Service Commission doesn't have. You've got to look at a collaboration, for instance, with the Office of the IGG or CID. What happens there? For those of you who don't know, the President of the Law Society has been a visitor to CID over the matters that relate to what went to court and eventually led to where he is now.
20 seconds to go.
So those are tools to look at. Those are the enhancers we have to look at the cultural and human-centered tools. We have to protect whistleblowers. We need to have a public platform for complaints to be anonymously, securely, and credibly received.
Time up. And just
Thank you very much.
To be very kind and set a good precedent for the other candidates, you have told us, if my layman understanding of what you're saying is anything to go by, we need to. I'm going to allow you 1 minute to tell us, I, Resida, will do this.
For everything I've said throughout this campaign, I will champion what I've said, particularly on transparency. On transparency.
How?
By leading by example is the best. Be transparent. And like I said before, you can't give transparent if you have none. That is my biggest tool.
Thank you very much. Candidate Alex Resida. His clarion call. The summation of what candidate Resida says is you can't give what you don't have. I'll turn to Professor Christopher Mbazira. The question remains the same. The opportunity is now yours to respond. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, Simon. Good evening, colleagues. I'll go straight to give my answer to the question. I want to start by stating that we cannot answer this question unless we understand the general context. And I'm talking about the context of rule of law and protection of human rights that affects all Ugandans. Because we have guarantees in the Constitution, we are supposed to be a country that follows the rule of law, but this is an area where we've had serious challenges. So many rule of law deficits that are taking different forms, so many human rights abuses and violations that are taking different forms and affecting different people differently. When you look at our commitments as a country, we commit to rule of law standards that are international. We've also committed to human rights standards that are both international and domestic. And for the human rights standards here, freedom of expression, of course, is key, Article 29. And there are other related rights that go with that, including the right to practice one's profession. All Ugandans have had different experiences as far as their human rights are concerned. We've seen different people go through different experiences as far as the exercise of freedom of expression is concerned, especially in the digital era that we are in, because it has empowered all of us to express ourselves. But it has also come with legal constraints in the law. And some of those constraints actually don't meet the international standards, they don't meet the domestic standards per our constitution. So I want us to start from there. As much as lawyers have the freedom of expression, everybody else has the freedom of expression. But lawyers stand in a very special position. And when it comes to freedom of expression, actually, their protection should be heightened because they protect their clients by expressing themselves in different ways in court, outside court. And indeed, there are international standards that go with that. We have the basic principles on the role of lawyers and the IBA, and then we have standards for the independence of the legal profession. These are UN standards that we have to follow, and they detail the obligations that the state has to protect lawyers when they are exercising or discharging their obligations. We need to understand the historical context here, because we are partly dealing with a system that has not been decolonized. When you look at the historical context, you see that the colonial state looked at the profession, the legal profession, as a threat. And unfortunately, unlike what happened in other jurisdictions, there was no extension of special privileges and protections to members of the bar. In other countries, not all, but in some countries, a lawyer cannot be arrested without going through special procedures. They cannot be prosecuted. But unfortunately, that's not the weekly press here, where I was invited to present as the key speaker. I talked about the crisis in the justice sector, and I detailed a number of things that define that crisis. One of the things that I detailed actually was accountability. If we can go back to that record, where I said increasingly we are seeing judicial officers being uncomfortable when they are called to account. And they are using several tools, and one of those tools is actually contempt of court, which unfortunately we see has been used against the president of the bar. That's a crisis, that the president of the bar is actually out of the country. So what am I saying here? When you look at the mandate of the Judicial Service Commission constitutionally, it has a mandate to provide guidance on issues of administration of justice. Independence of the bar and protection of members of the bar is something that is relevant to administration of justice. What does this mean? It means that the Judicial Service Commission should interest itself
20 seconds.
in developments that impact on administration of justice. When members of the bar are not able to exercise their duties freely without intimidation as indicated by the international standards, this is something that should interest the Judicial Service Commission. What am I going to do as an individual? Thank you so much. I will advocate for the Commission to pick serious interest in some of these happenings. Thank you so much.
To use the same latitude of fairness that I granted to candidate Alex Resida, I will allow you 1 minute to substantiate on what I'm going to ask you next. You said your mandate would be to give guidance when you get the Judicial Service Commission. My understanding is guidance is more like opinion, can be taken or not taken. What happens when your guidance is continuously disregarded? You as Christopher Mbazira, what would you do? Would you continue following the charade of guidance upon guidance that is treated with contempt undeservedly, or you will do something that you may wish to share with us now?
It's very important when you are pushing for something for you to do your mapping, to identify the centers of power, We need some legislative reforms here. Review of the ULS Act is long overdue. We know it's the mandate of Parliament to actually review. So we need to start by establishing the centers of power as far as review of that act is concerned, lobby for the same, and be consistent. But most importantly, I would rally the bar. I would rally the bar and other formations that are also interested in this, or I would convince other formations in society that actually this is something that affects not only the bar, but it affects everybody. Because if the rights of the members of the bar are not protected, then you cannot speak of fair trial.
Thank you very much, Candidate Christopher Mbazira. I will add that what you have said reads and sounds very well. One would argue that should you not win the mandate of your members, that clamor to do stakeholder mapping, stakeholder engagement, if for nothing else, to change how things are done from a legislative point of view, is something you should not drop the ball on. Who knows, it could come to pay you dividends in your future endeavors for any other position.
Simon, I've already done it.
We appreciate. Let's turn to candidate Edson Ruyondo, who I will call out thrice, and if he's in the room, please show, or else I proceed to the next. Candidate Edson Ruyondo. Candidate Edson Ruyondo. Candidate Edson Ruyondo. It is therefore considered that candidate Edson Ruyondo is not physically present in this room, neither have I received an apology of his absence, and therefore I will proceed to the next in line alphabetically. I therefore now call candidate Ellison Karuhanga.
Thank you very much, Simon, and thank you to my friends. Simon, where do I stand on this issue? I stand where the Constitution stands. On the side of justice, not on the side of vengeance. You know, the president of the Law Society was convicted for the offense of scandalizing the judiciary. I want colleagues to go and read the case of McLeod versus St. Alban, which is a Privy Council case, where the Privy Council held that the offense of scandalizing the judiciary is obsolete in England, but English courts need to keep it, and I'm quoting, for small colonies consisting primarily of colored populations. It is an unacceptable fact that in Uganda today, an offense reserved for colored people is the one under which the president of the Law Society has been convicted. That constitution provides that it shall be interpreted in accordance with the wishes, norms, and aspirations of the people of Uganda. The people of Uganda, the colored people of Uganda, are entitled to dignity and self-respect. Simon, our courts already struck down the laws of sedition. Why should there be no law of sedition for the executive, and then the law of sedition is smuggled in respect of judicial matters? That is not acceptable. That would have been bad enough. But you must remember that Mr. Semakade was convicted ex parte. That means he was convicted not in his presence. He was convicted without a trial. Article 44 of the Ugandan Constitution says that the public interest does not include detention without trial. How can we allow a situation where the only person in Uganda today who is currently supposed to be an inmate and a convict who is convicted without a trial is the president of the Uganda Law Society? So my first proposition is, on this issue, I must confess that the president of the Law Society is my friend. But on this issue, I do not stand just on the point of friendship. I stand too on the point of principle. Everywhere else, an accused person who you claim you have served should at the very least receive criminal summons. The exception for contempt of court in the Constitution did not say that there must be no, but moreover, there's not even contempt in the face of the court. Someone is alleging outside court that someone said something, and you are not even according this person the benefit of a criminal summons, the right to make a plea in his defense, the right to counsel, that one day he is arrested by order of court, detained without trial. I know that there are situations where military agencies and others may detain people without trial, and they may need help to get out of that. But it is totally unacceptable when it's the courts of judicature detaining the president of the Law Society without trial. That is a completely unacceptable situation. So my first point, Simon, is that I stand, first of all, in solidarity with the president of the Uganda Law Society, unashamedly. The second point is, I think the other part of the question was, what are we going to do about it? I don't know if I got that part of your question right.
Maybe just to make it clear to you, you are a representative of the Uganda Law Society on the Judicial Service Commission. And this still prevails. What will you, Ellison Karuhanga, a representative of the Uganda Law Society in the Judicial Service Commission, do about the situation at hand?
What will I do as a representative of the Law Society? The people who we are going to represent are the people who voted Isaac Semakade as their president. Therefore, when I sit in that Judicial Service Commission, I do not sit on a separate vote from that of the elected council of the Uganda Law Society. We must make it a very serious issue, because, you know, if we cannot protect, if the law doesn't protect one of us, it will serve no protection for any of us. So what I intend to do is that must be an issue even before we get to the Judicial Service Commission. That must be an issue. At the last debate, I made it very clear that we must improve bar-bench relations. If you look at the constitutional provisions regarding the JSC,
you have 20 seconds.
It must be a bridge between the public and the court system. We must create that bridge as the representative of the society. We must be able to tell our colleagues that, you know, we are sitting here meeting, but the Uganda Law Society has been attacked by a judicial order, and we need to solve that problem.
I would have extended you the same grace I gave the other previous candidates, but because your time has been consumed by chants from your supporters, we will take that is therefore causa finita. That said, allow me turn my attention to the next candidate, Frank Kandiho.
Thank you very much, Simon. And good evening, all of you members of the Uganda Law Society and distinguished candidates, and all our well-wishers and listeners out there. Mr. Kasiate, having grown up with you, you know my values. I take risks. I am going to take a fundamental risk this evening. Whether it costs me $1 million or 1,000 votes, I will sleep happy. And I'm going to take that risk. We are first and foremost Africans. Our guiding constitution as Africans is Ubuntu. I had a father, I lost my father, but I have a mother. Somebody here has a father, somebody here has a mother, somebody has a sister, somebody has a friend, somebody has a brother. If you think that it is honorable for anybody anywhere in the world to call your mother a vagina from Karamoja, I take that risk. If you think that it is African and it is honorable to call a judge of the High Court a small penis, if you think it is honorable, I am taking that risk. If you think...
Can we have some order in the audience, please?
If you think that it is honorable to bastardize, to vulgarize the nobility of the legal profession by littering every corridor, every shelf with unpleasant commentary and uncharitable commentary, I am willing to take that risk. I associate myself fully with the verdict passed against Sembagad, and remember, I supported him. I supported him knowing that he will be a shield against our tormentors. I did not support him in the honest but mistaken belief that he will be a tormentor too. When you associate yourself with lies, prepare and brace yourself for a sleepless night. Secondly, Mr. Chairman,
may I protect the candidate that is currently on the
I will certainly be protected. Cheerleading is useless. Secondly, Mr. Chairman, I left Makerere University in the year 2003. I left LDC in the year 2004. I have never had any area of trade other than private practice. In my many areas of intercourse with private practice, I have held the bench to account. Namely, in the year 2008, I appeared before a judge, the Honorable Mr. Justice Joseph Murangira, in the company of a man called Patrick Fura, who was senior counsel in Mwesu Kutan and Company Advocates. That judge set out to solicit for a bribe. I single-handedly initiated proceedings, administrative proceedings, not disciplinary proceedings, before the Chief Justice and the Principal Judge, my Lord Justice Katurebe, Chief Justice, and my Lord Bamwine, Principal Judge. I was advised that this is a disciplinary and not an administrative matter. I took up a disciplinary matter before Judicial Service Commission, in the knowledge that Judicial Service Commission would discharge its function of receiving and processing complaints. I was at peace. When the complaint Judicial Service Commission, it stayed at the level of receiving, it was never processed. Number two, a judge was seconded to the High Court circuit in Mbarara. His name is Batemba. He's still a serving judge. He spent 26 days at the station. He did not see a grant. He never entertained an application. He would hobnob from the registrar to his chambers. I brought the matter to the attention of the principal judge, and he was called and given a dress down. And he was transferred to Fort Potro and warned to discharge his judicial functions. Thirdly, there was a judicial officer in Masaka. Her name is Grace Wakori. She was taunted and hounded by justice traders. If you have practiced law, you know who a justice trader is. There are people who are in the corridors of court trading justice. So they wanted to short fix this magistrate.
20 seconds.
Okay. They wanted to short fix this magistrate. When she refused, they originated a complaint before Judicial Service Commission. I offered myself to represent her pro bono, and I stood my ground, and I still represent her, because Judicial Service Commission is not an ocean for small fish where the whales and tilapias are discharged from the arm of accountability.
I will extend the grace that I gave to the first candidates for 1 minute to allow you proceed in indicating how, with this history that you've said of your ability to call truth to power, how that will come to play and make you the best of the 10 colleagues with whom you are vying for this position. 1 minute.
You see, Mr. Kasiate, back to Ubuntu, which is our founding constitution. Characteristics are manifest. Characteristics need not be looked out for using a microscope. When you want to understand somebody's characteristics, you understand what is their core of duty, what is their duty of care. By the time you purchase hecklers, lobbyists, cheerleaders and you bring them in a forum such as this, your characteristics are far beyond par.
Thank you. Order, please. Order. Order. From wherever it is that you're watching this debate of the Uganda Law Society, to select 2 representatives as nominees to the Judicial Service Commission. Can we have some order, please? Now, you are going to tempt the moderator to prohibitively punish the candidate whose support structure is obstructing the flow of this conversation. And I will do so without fear or favor, ill will or affection. And that said, I will indicate, following what candidate Kanduho said, where he dropped a name that he has grown with me, I want to also indicate that on this table of contestants before us, I have had a history with almost everyone on the table. And very quickly, I will say, Ellison has been known to me for longer than I have not known him. Counsel Alex Resida has represented me in a matter of, again, you'll be surprised, sedition, which is now off the books, in my previous trade as an active journalist. I have had the opportunity of interviewing Professor Christopher for a long time on matters of law as I covered my stories. I have seen Counsel Mariam Mbabali as a young girl frequenting her father's office in the building where one of my workplaces was. So I have seen her grow. Fiona Wall was your president of the Uganda Law Society, and on countless occasions did I interview her. I may not have had an interface with the other 3 candidates in as far as my professional work is concerned, but at least I have managed to research and know about them, and therefore I cannot consider them strangers before me. So I want to make it absolutely clear that my role here as moderator has nothing to do with any inclination of who I know, who I do not know. What's for sure is if I did not know any of these candidates, then I would not be the most suitable person to moderate this debate. That said, let's proceed. Candidate Mariam Mbabali.
I won't be responsible for the hooliganism, but I appreciate the support. Thank you very much, moderator, and all the members in the room. Thank you so much. So, accountability and integrity when it comes to our President Semakade. That question is a double-edged sword, if I may put it. We are seated on the platform, all of us here, and all of you in the room, on the platform that was created by the Back on Track. So we can't pick and choose when to condemn and when to appreciate the very person that led to where we are. It's from the freedom of the Kalali case and the Back on Track team that we are seated here. So if I say double-edged sword, that's what I mean. So why are we seated and thinking this is a thing to discuss? That's a very good question. But we are looking at a broken system. We must protect the people that we send to administer justice. In the broken system, if we want integrity, we must build the system that supports it. If you are looking for accountability, we must build the system to which to hold people accountable. In a situation and the question that you put before us, if Mariam is seated at the Judicial Service Commission with the mandate that the JSC requires, I would look at how was this justice disseminated to the point of our whole president is in exile. What are the tools? How did this judicial officer arrive at the conclusion he did? Did we have transparency in how he arrived at his decision? We cannot hide behind our judgments. Judicial officers cannot just say, okay, you're condemned to contempt of court, and hope that someone else will take it up on appeal. If Mariam is in the Judicial Service Commission and knowing technology and trained on it, if these systems are transparent and the tools are open to the users, people will be seated in that court openly. They will be hearing at how the judicial officer has arrived at the decision he has taken. They will be seated and looking at the tracking. The scorecard will be telling us at what point did we arrive here. We will be knowing what system is he using. So I am looking at accountability at a broader perspective. I am looking at the mandate before me. I'm not yet sit and tell you that, okay, I like what I had. No. But at the same time, look at where we are. Some people are disruptors. And I appreciate Councillor Semakade for disrupting the status quo. Maybe this is what we needed to get where we are. So, at a point where we are discussing at the entail of things, maybe we need to disrupt the whole judicial system to erase issues of people like Semakade having to flee their battlegrounds. If we give people a cushion to which to operate, transparency on how decisions are made, I believe that we will be standing on a foundation that suits both the judicial officer, the party involved, and justice that we are here to serve, and the confidence in the public, because we are here to build public trust. Yes. What was that? Remind me of the last
Maybe
part
just
of that
to guide,
question.
you've talked about, and I will quote, we must build the systems that will deliver us from a broken system. You also talk about the need for disruption. I will further the question to how. Let's just get to the details of the how.
Yes, thank you. My how will involve, and again, it will involve digitizing the judicial processes. We must, first of all, what it takes is all the players in the judicial system. It is not the judge only. It's the lawyer. It takes the lawyer also that took that matter before the judge. So we are seated, we are all players of the very system. The clerk, the court users, the litigants, we belong in the same system. So if there is any rot, the rot starts from the whole overhaul.
So digitizing your judicial system, if
Yes.
I may put an adjoiner, would that be within the ambit of the representative of the Uganda Law Society nominee to the Judicial Service Commission, or that is something you can do elsewhere without necessarily seeking this mandate? Why do you think that's within your purview, if I may use those terms?
Yes, I believe it's within the Judicial Service Commission to ensure that the judiciary upholds its independence, it upholds its mandate. So making all these new avenues, digitizing the judicial, it's all supposed to erase the big elephant in the room. It's supposed to support the judicial officer that you're sent to disseminate justice but lacks the tools.
Let me just ask you finally to take advantage of the extra minute I've been giving every candidate.
Yes.
What makes you think that you, Mariam Mbabari, will be able to give me the assurance, and by extension the members that intend to vote you, that you will deliver on that promise?
Oh, thank you. Like all promises that have brought me up to today, I've delivered on. I have a 360 view of people and systems. I am able to read within the spaces that I'm in. Being on a commission like JSC, it's not enough to be a lawyer alone. But being a Harvard trainer in technology, I will be able to see where we're headed. I am not only an advocate of the High Court. No, I am a mental health practitioner. I am able to disseminate a judicial officer's mental well-being. So above everything else, I will be able to cater for the systems and the people before me when I'm at the Judicial Service Commission.
Tremendous. Order. It is indeed very heartwarming to hear that for every promise you ever made in life, you've delivered on it. And one can only hope that this promise you make today won't be that first time a promise you make is not delivered on. That said, it is interesting with how lucky some folks can get, because the next candidate to be invited is candidate Milton Ochen, who only walked in 1.5 minutes ago. I want to believe that he's still in the room, and so I am at pain because the question is generic and it was asked at the beginning and you were not in the room. I will refer to you a question that was asked and that the programming of this debate agreed would be the first question to all the candidates. And this question was submitted on the social media platform called X. I know from my investigations that you saw this question because you are one of those who liked and reposted it. But I will be, for purposes of fairness, recount the question for you, if for nothing else, for those other candidates in the room that may have lost track of what this question said. It goes, as we consider the future of our judiciary, we need the Judicial Service Commission representatives who prioritize accountability and transparency. Holding judicial officers accountable should never be a punishable act. Yet, the Uganda Law Society president, elected by the very members whose votes the Judicial Service Commission candidates like you now seek, lives in exile for, among other things, demanding accountability from the judiciary. An appeal and a stay of execution case concerning his personal liberty have not been yet heard and determined since they were filed in February of this year. That's a delay of 8 months and is still counting. This sets a troubling precedent that speaking truth to power comes at a personal cost. And now the question: where do the Judicial Service Commission candidates, yourself including, aspiring for this office of Judiciary Ombudsman, stand on this critical issue?
Thank you, Simon. Thank you, members who are here and online. Simon, I must apologize for coming late. At least I made effort. I reached out to the chairperson of the elections committee and yourself as well. I think I communicated. So I'm sorry for coming late nonetheless. I actually thought that if we're preaching digitalization, we should walk the talk and have options for online options. But it is what it is. We'll deal with it that way. The question you've asked, and for the record, I didn't repost it, but I saw it during the day when I scrolled through. I agree. One, accountability should never be as a tool, or no one should pay a price for demanding for accountability. I agree 100%. I also agree that for demanding for accountability from the judiciary, no one should be punished. It is stated in that question that our dear president is in exile for demanding, for speaking truth to power, costing him being away. Simon, this is a question. I will not answer it as a politician. I will answer it as a lawyer. One, it brings into discussion the president and the person of the president. I will tell people here, Semakade is my friend, or he used to be my friend. I don't know. We met at Makerere Law School, and we became friends. I supported him for these elections that brought him to power, simply on one thing. Whatever he said resonated with what I believed was the right leadership for Uganda Law Society. And that is why I stood on my 2 feet and openly and publicly supported him. Simon, accountability is not one way. Accountability is a two-way thing. You're demanding for accountability, you must also be accountable to the people that you lead. There is no two ways about it. Okay? Now, many may not know, I may not go into the nitty-gritties that I may not be sure, but I know there was an application which was filed in court, the one that led to the conviction and sentencing. To the best that I know, there was service. I do not know what happened thereafter. So I do not want to speculate on what happened. Things like trial in absentia, I believe there was service. I do not know what happened. So I will not speculate. But I'm here to say this, that personally, I got very disappointed in Mr. Semakade. He took that office and the mandate that he had and used it for personal vendetta. That is not something I agree with and I don't stand with. We all know this. It is in the public domain. So this is my message to members, that we cannot pick one side and say, now he's being witch hunted, and yet when he's on a personal vendetta and attacking others, we are quiet. What kind of society are we? Okay? So what I know, that the conviction came as a result of, because I'm a Judicial Service Commission candidate, right? And during the period of our candidacy, as some parties went to court, the President Semakade issued some tweets, some X comments. And those X comments, as lawyers, we do know that when a matter is in court, we have limits within which we can comment. Okay? But again, I will say this as a disclaimer, I have not fully internalized perhaps Fiona's idea of latest in law series should have been utilized, and we would have known better the merits and demerits of this case. But ultimately, personally, I was very disappointed for the attack. Because I felt like he was using his office to attack people, personal vendetta. We know the people that he attacked and insulted. So concluding this matter is
20 seconds.
If we are talking about accountability, let's look at both sides of accountability, both from the bar and from the judiciary, and not one side. Thank you.
Thank you, candidate Milton Ochen. Now, before you came in, I was magnanimous with an extra minute to every candidate to say yes, whereas except one whose supporters consumed his minute and plus. And the extension was supposed to be to the extent that it is easy to point out flaws of what is or isn't working and give prescriptions of what should or should not be the antidote. But we're interested in how you will provide that solution as the candidate. Give us the assurance from maybe your moral standing, your previous experience and works, so that we know that you mean business. 1 minute.
Just for clarity, on the same subject?
No.
On?
You are here to be elected as the representative of the Uganda Law Society Judicial Service Commission.
Yes.
1 minute. What makes you the best of these 10 others with regard to the how you will perform your duties in there?
Thank you, Simon. I'll repeat what I said the other day, although I will say that this is a question that calls for somebody to blow their own trumpet. We are all good candidates, to be honest with you. I think for me, the distinguishing factor that members should be looking out for, one, somebody who does hold their leaders accountable. I gave an example of whatever is happening in the governing council, and none of these candidates has come out to openly address these issues. So why do we think that when they go to the Judicial Service Commission, they're going to hold the people that they're supposed to hold accountable? It's not going to happen, or it is actually politicking, which tells the character of the candidates as well. But mine is for accountability, mine is for teamwork, mine is for collaborative work.
Thank you very much, candidate Ochen.
Thank you.
We appreciate. Now, all of you in this room and those outside, the reason why this question is generic and for the longest part touches on the predicament facing the president of the Uganda Law Society is because largely this is the first time in the history of the representation of Uganda Law Society to the Judicial Service Commission that the nominees are being subjected to a popular vote. And this popular vote idea was ushered in by the radical new bar as we know it, by President Semakade. And that's why this question touches and features this prominently. So I thought that context as to why this is the generic question to all the candidates features this prominently. That said, I'll now turn to the next candidate. And yes, I have the pleasure to invite Patricia Atim.
Isn't it Paul? Or, but if he's okay with it.
Okay, let's follow alphabet. Let's spell Patricia. It's P-A-T. Let's spell Paul. P-A-U. T and U. Which comes first in the alphabet?
Most obliged, moderator. I'm well guided.
I appreciate it.
Do accept.
So, candidate Patricia Atim.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, moderator. Good evening, everybody. Good evening, those who are here and those listening in.
Order in the house.
Now, in response to the question, one, my background is coming from the academia, coming from legal aid terrain, and where I had not had the opportunity, like my colleague, probably Frank, who has had the opportunity to interface with judicial officers and report them before the Judicial Service Commission, etc. In my practice of law, that opportunity has not yet arisen, but I can commit that I present myself to be able to uphold the needs of society. Where complaints are made, we address them as the Judicial Service Commission, and I push for fast and quick disposal of such complaints and in a transparent manner. With respect to the question we are being asked relating to our President Semakade, yes, the situation is unfortunate. You asked, shall we be able, how about if this position results into our exile, just like our president? Our president recently wrote one of the papers around the Ben Chiwanuka Day, and he said, if you're not ready to be a Ben Chiwanuka, don't open your mouth. And for me, that paper was appealing to me, because essentially he was saying, if you're not able to uphold accountability, governance, and rule of law in this country, then do not sit in the seats that require that capacity. And I'm here to present myself for that. I am seeing one of the members of the 6th Judicial Service Commission in the House. I hope we shall recognize her later, but she has not been, at least she's still alive, she has not been prosecuted for her roles or anything. So probably the commission is also an effective commission that listens and works well for the benefit of Ugandans. The situation with our President Semakade is unfortunate. It's a I know for a fact that my colleague here, I think I'll leave it to him to, probably my colleague Paul, he will tell us about all the actions that they are taking as his legal representatives in court to try to address the cases. And I think there are about 3 or 4 cases against the president. The one on the ruling of Justice Sekana, granting him 2 years ruling on issues of contempt of court. The one against Justice Abodo, the language that was used, presented there, and 2 others. So they're in court, and I think Paul is best placed to talk about that. But for me, from where I sit, from a legal aid perspective, from a human rights angle and constitutionalism, I think this case should give us a sense of reflection as a nation. If our constitution has guarantees that calls upon public officers to uphold the constitution, in the same vein that it gives us freedoms to exercise, we have to exercise them, yes, within limits, but we also have to acknowledge that the Constitution gives us also rights as citizens under Article 17 to protect and uphold the Constitution. Premised upon those, I appreciate that the conduct, the words that President Semakade said, looking at them and the gist really, you see, they say equity looks at substance, not form. Looking at the gist, what was he pushing? He's pushing for accountability, upholding governance and the rule of law, pushing for the effective performance of our respective offices, be it the judiciary or be it the ODPP. When I studied at A-level, I studied literature. Hell was my combination. And looking at his statements and his words from a literature point of view, metaphor and so on, I appreciate the content. I do not, or the purpose. I do not look at the words. I know we are coming from an African context where saying certain words are forbidden, they are bad manners, etc., etc. But we must lift the veil. We must lift the veil beyond those words and say, now, what was the gist of the issue? He's saying, ODPP, come and handle your office as an ODPP. People are being prosecuted. People are staying, really? Okay. So, also, just, yeah, so what will I say? In the spirit of Article 126, reconciliation, Ubuntu, and nationalism, I would move that if the cases cannot be fixed, the ones Paul and colleagues are struggling to fix, then can we have a Truth and Reconciliation Commission to handle this matter so that Semakade has not killed anybody, he has not stolen public funds.
Thank you, candidate Patricia Ati.
Yes.
In extending the same magnanimity to the other candidates, I will use one of the interesting launch pads of your presentation, quoting from your president, who at the last Benchi Wanuka memorial lecture said, if you're not willing to be a Benchi Wanuka, don't open your mouth. And I will put it to you this way. Do you, Patricia Atim, going in as a representative of the Uganda Law Society to the Judicial Service Commission, do you affirm to us that you will be a Benchi Wanuka? And if so, what shows?
Members of the Uganda Law Society, I take this opportunity to solemnly swear and affirm to you that I'll be a Benchi Wanuka in this role. I intend to push for transparency in all aspects of the Judicial Service Commission. I intend to push for fair recruitment of judicial officers. It is teamwork, and I hope that the judicial officer, the rest of the Judicial Service Commission members will listen. I intend to push for benchmarking so that we can learn better practices from others. I intend to push for alternative dispute resolution mechanisms because the court has taken that, the judiciary has taken that. If you look at the judiciary report of 2024-2025, they have embarked on that. So if we mean business in trying to address the challenges that face our judicial system, we must really push for ADR, and Semakade's case should be the first public interest ADR case by our judiciary.
Thank you, candidate Patricia Atim. Indeed, your electorate has listened, and should they vote you and you do not honor the vows you made unprompted,
yes,
that then may give them grounds to act otherwise. But that said, I thank you, and I'll proceed to the next candidate. From my order of alphabetical precedent, now I have the honor to invite candidate Paul Muchibi.
Thank you, Simon. Thank you, listeners, those online and those physically here. Simon, I want to address this question in two contexts. I'll bring the practical context concerning the cases around the president and also give my views how to deal with the problem. The cases that have put the president in exile are three. The first of its kind is the decision of Justice Musa Sekanda, delivered on 20th February 2025, which, in summary, convicted the president. And since that decision was delivered, immediately, President Semakade, through his lawyers, filed an appeal and also filed an application to stay proceedings. The issue of accountability has come in, and it is critical here. Since February, an application for stay has no decision. We are in October. This is very critical. This matter was filed even when Justice Sekana was still the judge in that division. Later on, he leaves the division under elevation to Court of Appeal. It was not fixed until the month of April 2025, when another judge comes in. That is now Justice Joyce Kavuma. The matter was never fixed for hearing until June 2025. In June 2025, Justice Kavuma fixes the matter in August. It is a very urgent application. Now fixes it in August. In August, she comes, an application for recusal is presented before her. She declined and hears the matter. When she had the matter, she fixed it for ruling on 13th September. A very simple application. 13th September. To date, 4 dates have been given for ruling, no decision rendered. How do we hold such judicial officers accountable? If you have a matter for stay, by its nature, it's urgent. It's taking a year in the court system. How do you now convince us that a certain set of litigants in the same division in October 2025 have filed a matter against ULS to hold the AGM and the JS elections? You fix the matter in the same month, and today it has come up for hearing. What explanation can you give us if this is not selective in handling matters? Litigants have filed a matter in this month, October, in the same civil division. It has been given a date, 13th. Today we are in court. It is heard on a supersonic speed, and the ruling fixed on Thursday this week. A matter of February has no decision. What explanation can you tell us that you are administering justice fairly, if not vindictive? That is one. The second case that is causing the president to be in exile, that is arising from Buganda Road Chief Magistrate Court. A warrant of arrest that was issued. And there are steps we have taken to challenge that one, and the matters are also still ongoing since July this year. Still, we haven't got a decision. And all this speaks to accountability. How are our judicial officers accountable when they neglect to perform when they ought to perform? And how do we reconcile selectively fixing matters urgent, which have just come in, and ignoring those that came earlier to be determined? Are we administering justice, or we are weaponizing justice, or we are weaponizing the judiciary to fight dissent? So it is very critical. The other third matter concerned also a private prosecutor's matter that was by Mr. Rutaro Robert. Thanks to Mr. Rutaro, understood that he was being used, came here at RNB Live and apologized to the members and said, I've stopped to be used and I've abandoned this case, and that one was withdrawn. So we thank Counsel Robert Rutaro. Now, bringing this into context of what we are discussing, I don't agree with the people who say if a litigant is vindictive against a judicial officer, then a judicial officer should also be vindictive. That is not right. A judicial officer must be impartial throughout. Even if a litigant assaults you, you don't act in the same measure. We cannot have a judge writing a decision, complaining in his own decision, I was attacked. And because I was attacked, I have to punish you. What kind of justice is that? You a complainant, a witness, and a judge.
Candidate Paul Mubchibi, your time is up, but I will extend the same courtesy of allowing 1 extra minute. Having eloquently put across the description of the goings on around the case that is cited in the first question, one then would beg to understand, as Paul Muchibi, a representative of the Uganda Law Society to the Judicial Service Commission, what are you going to do? And give us the details of the how, not necessarily the what you will do, but how you will do it.
First and foremost, which is very critical, we need to create an investigative committee on certain decisions of judges. Their decisions, by their nature, you look at them, If it is not corruption, if it is not compromise, then somebody is fighting personal war, weaponizing judicial power. Some decisions should be thoroughly investigated by the Judicial Service Commission. This system of always telling us, Ganda appeal. You render any funny decision, you tell somebody to go and appeal because the appeal process is going to take another 10 years in the system. That should not work. We need to have a clear investigative committee on certain decisions and culprits put to book, and they must be sanctioned.
Sorry, this committee, would it be composed by the same members of the Judicial Service Commission, or it would be external?
The Judicial Service Commission has a disciplinary committee that is part of investigating the conduct of a judicial officer once a complaint has been presented.
The committee you are proposing, yes, would it be composed by members of the Judicial Service Commission?
Yes, because it is
right there. So if that Judicial Service Commission is presently telling you to go and appeal, as you are decrying now, what will creating a committee within composed by the same disrespectful people make a change?
You didn't get the context, but I will guide you.
I will be glad.
It is very simple. The one telling you to appeal is the judicial officer who has rendered a decision.
Thank
that
you very
judicial
much.
officer is answerable to the Judicial Service and complaints are there also dying in the commission.
Thank you for
it also has
substantiating.
backlog it has to deal with.
Thank you, candidate Paul Muchibi, for substantiating. We get it. The only person with the title Senior Counsel, and respectfully so, on this array of candidates is candidate Fiona Wall, because she's the former president of the Uganda Law Society. It is my pleasure to invite you, madam, to speak to us.
Thank you, Simon. On this question, I will make two references. The first is Martin Luther King stated that an injustice anywhere is going to be a threat to justice everywhere. The second thing I'll refer to is those that like soccer. I don't play soccer or watch it, but Liverpool's motto is "You'll never walk alone," and it came from Frank Sinatra's song. As President Uganda Law Society, I swore that lawyers would never walk alone when persecuted. Every time we showed up to rescue a lawyer, there were almost over, for Nicholas Opio, for instance, there were over 400 lawyers. The power of the Law Society lies in our numbers and in our ability to get together from all corners of the bar where I have served, to make sure that we come together for the things that matter to the aspirations of the people of Uganda in the Constitution of 1995. When I was president and we were seeing a lot of arrests like what we've talked about right now, we made an EGM and we investigated and found that a lot of lawyers were behind the persecution of other lawyers. We made a resolution, it is on record, that any such lawyers seen would actually be sent back and rejected as members. Now, the second thing we did was create a 100-man task force to represent human rights defenders. What President Semakade is suffering is not only for him. It's because he's the most, maybe, the highest kind of person that is suffering this. We have journalists, we have people on record. And for the 2 years of COVID-19, Uganda Law Society's members were providing this representation free of charge. What I can assure Law Society members is that as your representative at the Judicial Service Commission, when we are dealing with issues of transparency, accountability, and backlog, you will not walk alone. I do not intend to do this work alone. I intend to work with you, to get feedback from you, to create a JSC that listens, that learns, that collects feedback, and that acts. The last thing I will say is, when we talk about Lady Justice, she is blind. Every Ugandan, we're talking here about the president, we have talked about, I have always said that the judiciary also has a habit of prioritizing high interest cases. Right now we have over 33,000 inmates in Luzira that have been on remand longer than the period that they deserve, that they would have been convicted for. if they had their day in court. I have participated in plea bargain where somebody tells you, I'm pleading guilty because this is my only opportunity to be in a court of law. 5 years ago, Simon, the statistics were telling us that only 5% of Ugandans have access to justice, have access to the courts. Right now, with the judiciary of Uganda getting 800 billion from our national exchequer, which is what the Chief Justice asked for to repair all this backlog, we are still at less than 8%. I intend to hold these things accountable. We need a judicial scorecard that speaks to that, not only the disposal of cases, but the quality. And thank you, Milton, for raising the issue of the latest in law series. The latest in law series was weekly. It guaranteed young lawyers 40 CLE points free of charge on the calendar. But those 40 CLE points were spent making judicial officers account for what they put in their rulings. We need to understand that whatever decisions are made in these courts, they're going to affect decisions to come. They're going to affect the next generation. They're going to create very dangerous precedents. And as your candidate, if you vote well and vote well, I will serve you.
You have spared 40 seconds of your regular time. Would you, if I may ask, allow me give you the magnanimity of the extra question, the extra minute for just this simple clarification, candidate Fiona Wall? You talk about a judicial scorecard. My understanding is that that judicial scorecard would then subject those already in the judiciary on their performance. Which members of the judiciary pass through the Judicial Service Commission as a sieve? So when you find someone you passed already as the first gate being incompetent by your own scorecard, isn't that an indictment on you, the initial gate that led them there? Therefore, shouldn't the scorecard also apply to the Judicial Service Commission on which you will sit?
Thank you very much. When you talk about performance management, as you supervise other organizations, you're the first to supervise yourself and account. And one of the things I'll say about this judicial scorecard that I'm talking about, there's one that was actually created with the bar in 2017 with Law Society and SEPIL. And as we speak, that judicial scorecard, what we've always agitated for was that that judicial scorecard should come, the lawyers should get a chance to put feedback, and the judiciary themselves need to put a chance to put feedback for the bar and what is happening. As we speak right now, before the 1995 Constitution, acting judges had to submit all their judgments to JSC for review. Acting judges sometimes were not even promoted. The long list of judges used to be distributed for people to give comments. These are some of the things and mechanisms that I would agitate for at the Judicial Service Commission and ensure that we do to promote transparency in accountability. You cannot appraise in an opaque process.
Thank you very much. And indeed, I want to believe that you are using this kind of sieve all of you are going through to argue that what's good for you should therefore be good for the others. What's good for the goose is good for the gander. Now, we conclude the tour de table of the first question, and we head straight to candidate Shamim Amolo. Please switch on the microphone.
Thank you very much, the host, I mean. Good evening, viewers. I have served in Uganda Law Society in 2016 with dignity and integrity, and ensure fair procedures are taken in all matters that were decided by the council. And any decision that was made illegal, I managed to challenge. A case in point is when President Gimara entered into memorandum of agreement with NSSF so that members pay 50,000. I objected it strongly. I know you don't want me to point a finger, but my friend was there. And well, much as my friend Fiona was there, I submitted the name of 2 judges I submitted the name of 2 judges for recognition for their performance. That is Justice Stephen Mubiru and Justice Kanyehamba. They rejected Kanyehamba. And when the man died, I saw people there pretending to be very good, walking with their gun, doing what? Yes, perhaps, I don't know, perhaps because she said I wanted the position, but I've been doing, she said I wanted to be in the Judicial Service Commission that time, but I was a young lawyer. I was hardly 7 years. I don't maneuver things like the way sometimes she does. She made us wait for her up to now. Let me tell you, I'm telling you, I don't want us to take back the conduit of the previous regime, because the same way Ruth manipulated Gimara and went to the judicial service, the same way she also has just come from the presidency, knowing she's not eligible, delay us and went, and she's going there. So, members, I might be radical but not stupid. Let me tell you. Now, I go to your question. I am, members, this question.
Order, please. Let's listen
this
to the
question,
candidate.
let us be real. Let us be real on this question. I am in the Judicial Service Commission. I am not going there to influence things. I have my mandate. If you say I go and influence, then you're making me corrupt. What precedent will I be setting for others? Huh? So I should go there and start throwing my weight because the president has been taken. Let us get this fact. Sometimes as lawyers have problems. You disagree with a judge, you run to social media. You disagree with a judge because Judicial Code of Conduct does not allow a judge to respond in a social media. That is why the judge will react the way he reacted. He can give you fine, huge cost. All those are character of a judge which you have gone and insulted without a defense. You will have, yes, a judge will act like a wounded lion. I can assure you if you try that. Such cases, because I am going there, we have to protect our integrity. If I start like this, it means I am going to influence even judges in the lower other bench, because now I'm a judicial commissioner. I'm in the Judicial Service Commission. So I must do everything the way you want it. Let's take a difference between Uganda Law Society and Judicial Service Commission. For me, if a member falls in problem, I am ready to go and stand there and protect and prosecute. But I'm not going to go and influence just like that. My role is to make sure I appoint for you judges who are competent, who are hands-on, knows the law, civil procedure with integrity, so that when those matters comes before them, they handle it with transparency. Members, let me tell you one thing. I had an opportunity of reading the case of Mwema and Shell. The judge also, somehow the judge also is not, his lordship in the Court of Appeal, in the Supreme Court, gave some advice also to those judges. The lordship stated that when handling such cases where there is conflict between a lawyer and whatever, a judge must be as calm as Justice Muliangoja. How she conducted herself, because you can lose track. Justice Muliangoja herself, in her ruling, stated that this, in the history of my practice, this is the time my patient has been tested. Mwema had his day in court. So this means it is persuasive. It depends on the judge you have got. If you've got also a judge who is also short-tempered, he will treat you the way you are.
20 seconds.
So it is my submission that let us not treat this matter like something which will make us go out there and act in the way we want. No. We are supposed to follow the law, execute our mandate, do whatever it takes.
You join them. How can we be sure that you won't? You join them. How can we be sure that you won't go by that mantra of if you can't beat them in terms of numbers and influence, you join them? Do we know you to be a harshly dissenting person?
Simon, the single reply I have for that is transparency. Throughout my life, whatever I do, I make sure I am transparent as much as possible.
Thank you very much. I like the succinct way you've answered. Now, we have 30 minutes to go, and we always have a hard stop at exactly 8 o'clock. This question is to all of us candidates, and you have less than 2 minutes to answer it, and I will not follow any particular order. You will raise your hand and I will pick you, because it's what we call rapid fire. But the question goes as follows. You know for a fact that according to the law that establishes the membership of representatives to the Judicial Service Commission, the Uganda Law Society sends 2 nominees to the appointing authority, the president. You are currently going through the kiln of being those 2 nominees. But remember, even in previous practice where the nominees were not voted for, it is within the right of the appointing authority to throw away those nominees as sent by the Uganda Law Commission, the Uganda Law Society. So, hypothetically, we've gone through these months of campaign, including a delay to wait for a candidate to make 15 years. And that is what's in the public knowledge, not to the campaign anyone. And then the election is cast on the 18th of October, because it's within their right to say none of these 2 candidates merits me to send them to the Parliament of the Republic. So sends back the Uganda Law Society to nominate another pair of nominees. What will be your reaction or course of action if you are one of the 2 candidates? Candidate Alex Resida.
I fully understand and appreciate that the power to appoint rests with the President of Uganda. ULS sends 2 names. The power of appointment rests with the President of Uganda. I'm also aware that he has publicly in other instances argued that if you want 5 judges and give me 5 names, who is appointing? Give me 7 names and I choose your 5 judges, and I appoint 5 judges. 2, I'm fully aware that the recommendations are not final in a sense. I know that every judge that is, and I'm using that because that's what happens frequently, you send names as Judicial Service Commission. The President, through his other means, does a background check, especially through intelligence organs. We all know this. If the intelligence organs find something against me that the society didn't see and is a consumer of that information and has grounds to do that, then that's what will happen. The problem with that is I would want to know why. And I would demand to know why.
So what I get, candidate Alex Resida, is you will respect the decision of the appointing authority, but you will ask as to why.
It. You know, the why will help me to respect it.
Thank you very much.
The answer to the why.
Thank you.
Or challenge it.
Time. Hey.
Because
this is rapid fire.
Because there are also opportunities.
It is rapid fire. I will allow you answer this question.
There are opportunities for challenge if I know the why.
Candidate Alex Resida.
Including the right to information.
Candidate Alex Resida, look around the table. You have gone through as the representative of the Uganda Law Society. But you would prefer, like some said, to have a tag team, someone with whom you would comfortably execute your mandate. Who amongst these would you want?
Who amongst
these?
All these. Wait. All these.
Thank you.
All these candidates. All these candidates. All these candidates qualify.
Thank you very much. So, anyone Okay, candidate Fiona.
Thank you very much. Just to correct, I did not delay this. I got my ruling reinstating me in February. There was no intention to delay. It was not on my part that it happened. However, I wanted to just give a precedent of something almost similar. In 2011, Parliament amended the Judicature Act to increase Supreme Court justices from 7 to 11. And at that point, the Judicial Service Commission gave names to the president, and there was a rejection. There was a rejection from the head of state. And Dr. James Rakafuzi actually petitioned. And one of the things that came out, this petition was at the East African Court of Justice in the first instance division. One of the things that happened at that ESCJ ruling in 2015 was they dismissed the petition holding that the president had not arbitrarily refused appointments because he claimed not to have received full JSC recommendations. The court deferred to national sovereignty. There was an appeal in 2016, and the appellate decision again upheld the dismissal. So we already have, unfortunately, a very bad precedent of fighting these kinds of things.
To guide specific response to this question, you have been elected by the Uganda Law Society membership. The Law Society has nominated you among the two.
Specific
and
response.
You have been rejected by the president, or both of you have been rejected.
The Uganda
How
Law
would you
Society, sorry, the Constitution provides for 2 nominees from the Judicial Service, sorry, from the Uganda Law Society. It does not say elected officials. It says 2 nominees. It is our act that talks about elected representatives. And the the Kalali decision. Now, the aspect of nominees means that all of us here are already nominated. If the president takes rejects the 2, I would think that with everything Law Society has been through, they might want to consider some of the rest.
Oh, just to guide you, you are among the 2 that have been rejected. Would you respect or
I
would
would
you appeal?
respect it because at the end of the day, he is the appointing authority.
Right there, I ask the final one. You have been elected, and you're looking around the table. Who amongst these would you want to be with you?
I said in the past that I've worked in every aspect of practice, and I have served with each of these members at one time or the other. I have extreme respect for them, and I think that any of them would add value. However, if you want anybody who understands Law Society, who understands the problems in the judiciary, because I also served on the Judicial Council, who understands the Judicial Service Commission gaps that I tried to address when our representatives were there, and it is on record. If you want somebody who will ensure that work will be done with my track record, I think you will want to vote well and vote well.
Simon. I will be fair to the ladies and allow candidate Mbabali to have a go on this hypothetical question.
Hypothetically, if I didn't make it, first of all, I believe that leadership is not in titles. It's in the contribution that we consistently give on a day-to-day. In that space, I'm already doing very well. I will just continue with where I'm very much contributing. But I would be so keen at knowing why the office of the president would leave behind a person of my stature.
Especially after being voted.
Why would he want to miss out on a person of my caliber? Why would he want to miss out on a person full of a high level of discernment, very well qualified? I would be really with a very good track record. I will be I'll come before him and write some of those open letters they write in the vision and monitor and say, this is what you missed out.
So what we get is you will respect the decision, but you'd seek to understand what led to the arrival of that decision.
Yes.
That said, look around the table. Who would you vote for to accompany you to that office that you are coveting for?
Yes. On this table, I would thank you for saying Shamim. There are so many people on the table. Everybody brings a buffet. But somebody as outspoken as Shamim, really, it's a force to reckon. Yes, so I wouldn't be shy to want to stand alongside her. Let's do away with the norm. Fresh voices are not things we should shy away from. I'm a fresh voice. I wouldn't mind stand with one.
Thank you very much for the endorsement to Shamim. And that said, let's find out if Shamim would find you a suitable person to stand with her. In fact, Shamim, I will start with that question.
Yes.
If you have been elected, but you need someone with whom to go with as a tag team, is candidate Mariam Mbabari the kind of candidate you want to be together with?
Let us
Speak to the microphone, please.
Let us go the way we started. I will answer that. Anyway, now, from the reading of the article of 146 that give us the mandate, it seems the process is concluded because we are already nominated people. And that provision says the president can elect from the nominees, and we are already about 11. So the president can pick from any of us. This exercise we are now doing is just by the way. Yes, the section says nominated, can pick from the nominated, not elected. Yes, that is the provision.
So what I get is you are calling this exercise a charade, futile, and
not futile. I am saying
ab initio.
Because you can pick from the nominated people. So we are already nominated. Yes. So the discretion of the president. It doesn't
Thank you,
care
Candace
about the
Shamim.
voting.
And who would you vote for among
And what? No, but he doesn't
Time,
care
please.
about the. He doesn't care about the voting. So that is the position.
And okay, let's assume he cared and all that. Who would you want to be voted alongside with you to execute that mandate?
Now, I question you.
And work together again.
On this issue, when Namaganza was the president refused to sign for impeachment, what does Anita do? Those are kinds of presidential powers.
Thank you very much for attempting to answer our questions the best way you have. I'll turn to candidate Ocheng. Milton.
Thank you, Simon. The question, my response is that being law-abiding includes complying with lawful orders. There's a gentleman in this room. I often disagree with him on aspects of issues, but I have a lot of respect for him, and that is Malema Birizi. When whatever happened to him, he didn't flee, he stayed, he served his sentence, okay? He could have chosen. Yes, that is a true spirit of a champion of rule of law. So it is very important that we learn.
Mr. Mabirizi, can we please allow
So my response is that being a law-abiding individual or citizen includes complying with lawful orders. So I would respect that. But also let me add, again, my senior Resida touched on this. I remember when I was nominated from the Law Society to be appointed on the National Building Review Board. There were two names, and I was the successful one. Later, when I decided to find out, I realized that's when I learned that they actually do security checks and sweeps. So I would be interested in knowing why. But of course, as we present ourselves here, and I mean, we should do checks on the candidates that we are choosing. It is not in my place to start pointing fingers, but I will tell you some will not pass that security check. Because if you did a proper due diligence, some have been said to be participating in fraudulent land transactions. and so on and so forth. So that could be a reason. So
is that a security check or it's a moral check? But that said, having done your own background check on these other fellow candidates,
yes,
who then would you comfortably vote for that will not fail the test when it comes to security checks?
Simon, given the precedent set by my sisters in Babari and Shamim, I wouldn't want to take that route. I wish you had asked. I wouldn't want to take that route because you'll flip it to the next person.
Allow me remind you that candidate Mbabari actually did nominate who she would want to go along with.
Yes, and Shamim did not nominate her. So I don't want to take that route.
Whose precedent do we use?
I'm saying I don't want to take that precedent. I will not choose.
Thank you very much. Now, candidate Christopher Mbazira. Very quickly.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Simon. Thank you so much, Simon. You know, if you are a reformist, you don't focus on yourself. The moment you focus on yourself, then you lose the reform agenda. I'm organically a reformist, and I've actually achieved so many reforms. That's why when you look at my manifesto, I have long-term targets. And one of the long-term targets is actually constitutional review, because that's where the problem is. The way the president relates with the Judicial Service Commission and then, of course, the Law Society then. Because it takes away, the way the provision is crafted, it takes away the constitutional rights of the Uganda Law Society. Because if the society of over 5,000 people has exercised its right to nominate me, then surely that right has to be respected. But the problem is in the provision. It needs to be reviewed. And other countries have done so. The Kenyans did it, where the president's powers are ceremonial. And indeed, when President Uhuru tried to play around, when the commission promoted Justice Professor Ngugi, you know, the president was taken on and they had no choice.
Candidate Bazira.
Yes.
By the time all that is done and streamlined,
I'm coming to that, Simon. You want to know what I would do. To influence constitutional reviews, I don't have to sit on the commission. I have actually influenced reviews. People may not know.
Okay, let's put it this way, very succinctly.
Yeah.
If you were elected as a nominee to the president of the Uganda Law Society, and you were rejected by the president,
I would respect the decision, but my long-term target would kick in, which is pursue processes of a constitutional review, which I've done before using different strategies.
It also therefore means that even if you go through, you will still continue to push for amendments into the constitution.
Yes, and I just want to give you an example.
Very much.
Let me give you an example.
I don't think we have the latitude of time to allow for the examples to be given. You've made your case with regard to that question.
Okay, thank you.
The next question is simple. Who would you want to be your tag team member here? A running mate for that matter.
All of these colleagues are qualified.
Thank you very much. Now we have 7 minutes, and it's not a right or an obligation that any of the candidates could respond to this question. And so we have 7 minutes, and I don't see a hand up. Well, you put them back, I won't see you. So, candidate Patricia.
Okay, thank you, moderator. The response to your hypothetical question. Yes, I think of course, the president is aware of Article 146. Then I would probably engage the Uganda Law Society as a body to write to the president and let him know that this is the people's voice, the voice of the people of Uganda Law Society, which must be upheld, or else, in light of even Article 1 of the Constitution, or else there will be no other people to constitute from the Uganda Law Society to constitute the composition, because otherwise he will be violating the Constitution, and we need him to also be a president who upholds the Constitution. Thank you.
So in other words, what you're saying is you will ensure that come rain or shine, hail, water or brimstone, if you are elected, the president has one Hobson's choice, that he can reject everybody else but you.
Yes, because
That's
this is a
great.
yes.
And we are now talking you in singular, but you are supposed to be two.
Yes.
When you look around your colleagues, who would you want to be along with you?
I'm a team player.
Mhm.
Yes. And I have worked with many. Council Muchibi, I'm his boss on another platform. Well, Professor, no, I'm still speaking. Professor Mbazira has been my boss for the last 15 years. So we have worked closely. I have 4 members on this panel with whom I'm classmates. We are from the same LLB cohort. So yes, Ochen is my son traditionally, so I can probably prevail over him. So in a nutshell, I'm a team player and I'm willing to work with everybody, whoever else will be chosen. Yes, thank you.
Thank you very much. Frank Kando, you put up your hand and then I'll check with Muchibi and conclude with Elson. And that will be the 2 detab.
Yes, Mr. Kasiate. If any one of us has...
We have 5 minutes. Let's be cognizant of the time for others. We'll have a hard stop at exactly 8.
Yes, if any one of us has cared to read Article 146, we ought to have appreciated that it's a unique article. Of all commissions established by the Constitution, Judicial Service Commission is the only commission that tilts the power of the president. Amnesty Commission, under the Constitution, the power of the president is not tilted. Judicial Service, Equal Opportunities Commission, Human Rights Commission, and all other commissions, the power of the president is not tilted. Under Article 146, the power of the commission of the president is tilted in 3 respects. One, he's a nominating authority himself. He nominates 2 members of the public. 2, he appoints 2 individuals, advocates of not less than 15 years standing, nominated to him by Uganda Law Society. Thus far, his power is tilted. 3, he nominates a justice of the Supreme Court in consultation with judges of the High Court, justices of the Court of Appeal, and justices of the Supreme Court.
Order, please, order.
Except the principal judge, the Deputy Chief Justice, and the Chief Justice. Thus far, this question is moot. The President will not revert this question to us. But in the event that he did, in his wisdom, I would respectfully respect his decision.
Who would you want to go alongside with you of the candidates before us?
I have great respect for these colleagues. I, for example, have great respect for Mr. Rizid, having watched him over the years. I have great respect for Mr. Ochen because of his composure and his correction. I have great respect for my sister here, Fiona. I sat in the same class with her. I have great respect for my spouse here. I jokingly refer to as my spouse, Dr. Patricia. I have great respect for Muchibi because of his acumen in law reporting. I now have admiration for the venom put across by Shamim. So if anyone was given to me to accompany me to that, no problem.
So we note the key words. You have respect for some and then admiration, newly acquired admiration.
Because I haven't seen Shamim in a long time.
Thank
and
you very
I
much.
haven't heard from her in a long time.
Candidate Paul Muchibi.
Yes.
Thank you. One, indeed, the question is hypothetical. I must say...
Let me guide you, Candidate Paul Muchibi, that information is my business. The same way law is yours. Don't be very, very dismissive of the hypothesis I put to you, because it could be coming from some information that may not have been known to you. But let's proceed.
Simon, you put it clear. It is still a hypothesis. And you know what a hypothesis means.
Thank you.
Let me leave it at that. Now, going to the context, I would agree with the Council Kanduho. Article 146 is very clear. And on this view, I would disagree with Fiona Wall. The process of appointment of a judge is not the same for appointing nominees of ULS to the what? JSC. The other one is saying on advice of the the Judicial Service Commission. The question would be, is the advice final or not? You cannot relate that to Article 146. It is final, fully fledged and self-contained. And how nominees of ULS are appointed was interpreted in the decision of Stephen Kalari versus Uganda Law Society by Justice Boniface Wamala through elections. And that is why we have these what? Elections. So 146 is self-contained. Doesn't require any corroboration. Now that in the event that it is abused, to go into the hypothesis you are putting, if it is not respected, the concern is simple. Is we are not here for a do or die. Our struggles will still what? Remain. And we see even that article is respected to the constitutional command. Those who are here think because I'm a nominee, even if I'm last, I will be appointed. That is not right. That interpretation is totally not what? Not right. So we should speak to the constitutional what? Command and not have false hopes at all. Thank you.
What I get, candidate Paul Muchibi, what I get is that in the event that it is abused, you will certainly go head on and fight it.
That's what the rule of law requires.
Thank you very much. When you look around the table, who do you want to fight along with in case both of you are disqualified?
I must say the few I have reservations with, I will not mention, but the majority of the members on the table can execute good work. So I leave it to the electorate. Give me whatever I want, I work with him.
I can hear the pronoun remained on him, and therefore the her may not necessarily apply. But that's my interpretation. Finally, candidate Elson, and you will be hard stopped unless, of course, you make a compelling argument not to. Please proceed.
Article 142. First of all, Simon, I've had that question many times before. Many people have asked it. So let me start by rejecting its premise. Since 1995, the Uganda Law Society has nominated and the president has appointed. The premise of that question is an attempt to actually disrespect the current membership and leadership of the Uganda Law Society. So first and foremost, I reject the premise. If the president has been picking the JSC representatives that have been nominated by 2 people, 3 people, 1 person, what will stop him from picking the representatives nominated by the 5,000 members of the ULS? But that question, which has been going around, has actually been a question about undermining this process. So first of all, I totally reject the premise. The law is clear. The president has applied that law consistently since 1995. When this law society invited the president of this country to this ULS house, did he not respect the invitation? If he can respect our invitation, I guarantee you, colleagues, he will respect your nomination. What you do on the 18th of October, wake up, go to Imperial Royal, vote for me, and you will see I will be appointed. So I reject the premise of the question.
Thank you, candidate Ellison Karuhan. That said, again, who of these would you want to go along with, considering that for you, it is clear from your submission, come rain or shine, and especially if it is you that is elected, there is no way the president can refuse, if especially it is you, and those reasons, anyone is open to interpreting them. But who would you want to?
Who would I recommend? I think colleagues have answered that question, and I don't want to depart from that answer. I think that whoever the Law Society sends will be competent. There is a particular candidate, though, I wouldn't recommend, but I'll keep quiet about that.
Order in the room. Order in the room. It is exactly 5 minutes past the hour of 8 o'clock. We promised a hard stop, and it is therefore my honor and pleasure to say the following as we conclude. Order, please. Number one, to thank the candidates for raising to the occasion and making it here in person to attend to this very important tenet of democratic practice, of transparency, and whatnot that follows. Indeed, as one politician in the United States ever said, cometh the hour, cometh the man, and in this case we'll say cometh the woman as well. In the second and most important recognition, allow me thank members of the Uganda Law Society and other interested parties that have taken the trouble out of what could have been their very busy schedules to come to this auditorium in physical presence to listen attentively, cheer, and perhaps in one way or another jeer those they don't agree with and hope not to vote. Because again, it's within their right to do so. I also want to commend again very heartily the conduct with which we in this room have conducted ourselves. Yes, it is inevitable that there will be some disruption, there will be some cheering, there will be some commentary, there will be some stamping of feet, but that's again within what I regarded as basic decorum and was within the ambit of what is expected of a society like yours, of the Uganda Law Society. I want in a special way, still talking about the folks in this room, to recognize the presence of the previous member of the Judicial Service Commission as nominated by the Uganda Law Society, Nora Matovu. You may wish to wave to members here. Thank you for your service. That said, for those joining this conversation and may not have had the pleasure to know where the end game is, the end game is on the 18th of this month when the election shall take place. And it will be, as has been announced by one candidate, at Imperial Royal. It will be Saturday, and all are invited to ensure that they are eligible to vote by paying up their requisite fees by the stroke of midnight tonight. From my end, I also want to thank those that have followed this debate on the various platforms that are internet-based. We've had great engagement therein. The team has followed through your commentary, and we know that the debate may be ending physically here, but the commentary online should continue, if for nothing else, to inform the society on how to proceed with this process that will give confidence to the members and other stakeholders that you're going through the transparency that you have promised. Finally, and may I request that we have some order, please? You will have enough time. I will conclude this by thanking all of you and wishing you the very best for your election. God bless and have a wonderful time.